We'd like to welcome every individual to Voices of Integrity with Young Men. And today's an open session where you can ask any question. Participating live, always coming early, is always staying late is a good thing. And so, Kenny, have you decided if you're going to share on the podcast or not?
I
Uh,
don't.
okay. Luke, what would you like to accomplish today in the Voices of Integrity with Young Men?
So, leadership, when do you know when to say something to the people that you're leading about a little detail? And when do you know to, that doesn't matter?
I
Let
don't
it
know.
go.
I don't know. Another question?
Is there like a decision making process for that?
There is, but I haven't figured it out. So the analytic will often see a bunch of little details, that the other three personalities will not. And so the analytic, it bugs the other three personalities, when the analytic has a lot of picky things. It really irritates, well, probably the driver and the expressive a lot. And so the challenge that the driver and expressive have with the analytic personality is their pickiness, their OCD, everything's got to be perfect, is often the analytic makes the biggest mistakes because they don't see the big picture. I think what's is a general rule is, are you always harder on yourself, than you are on other people? I mean, if Melissa and Jason and Kenny were all on this podcast, what would they be thinking when you ask that question?
Mm, I don't know.
Really? Are you sure?
Jason, Melissa, really?
Let's try this. If Jason, Melissa, Kenny, and Mark were on this call, see, add Mark to it, see if that helps. What would they say?
Probably like, are you even concerned about the details?
Right. That's exactly what they say. Glad I added me to the thing. Like before, it's like, this year is the year of connecting the dots for the blank and blank. I mean, and so like it's like, where is he coming up with that question from? And so, you know, the four of us would look at each other and laugh and go, you know, what about doorknobs? And then, what about an inch and three quarters on sheetrock? And what about, you know, the 6 inches cutting off the roof of a deck? Like there seems to be a lot of details, Luke, that you miss. So where is the question coming from?
It's probably on some like quality stuff where I know if something isn't right, then it falls back on me. So,
Okay,
or
so it's selfish to protect yourself.
yeah, basically.
Okay, cool. As long as like the truth will set us free, right? And so, okay, cool. I think the most important thing is the client, right? In
Hmm.
business, that's the most important thing. In personal life, my wife is my number one client. Like she just is. My children and my grandchildren, right now, my grandchildren might be my second most important client. My kids are in there somewhere. Like that, they're right in there. So I seek to go ahead and look at my wife and my kids and my grandchildren as, clients. Like I'm going to serve them like I'm just going to. And so anyways, in business, it's the customer that matters. So is the customer paying for that level of quality? Quality costs money. It just does. It just does. It costs money. And so if the customer is not paying for it, well, that's an issue. If they expect it without paying for it, then we all would like that. Like, I want to go ahead and have a, Maserati, but only pay for a Corolla. Yeah, I'd like to have that. You can't, so that's delusional thinking. But the customer, we need to be in business. We need to always be focused on the customer. Is this going to matter to the customer? And if it is, well, then we need to go ahead and either level up or help the customer, help the person in sales, the people in sales, to make sure if you got somebody that expects quality, they have to pay for it. They just do. Does that make sense, Luke?
Yes,
Does that help or not so much?
I think so.
And then you just be humble and you just say, listen, I don't seem to do real well in giving correction. And it seems like I make a lot of mistakes myself. And so, do you, do you want me to point out things to you that I see? The customer is the most important, though. You keep the customer in mind all the time. In service to the customer, you keep that in mind. The customer, it's not about what you like or Kenny like or I like or any of owners like. It's about what is the customer like? What does the customer need? What's the customer's expectations? We need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So Bill, with Bill's Long Reach, so excavation company, just a Thursday at 6:30 Eastern time. It's podcast for connections and networking. Unbelievable. And, when he came over and did our pond, I had 3D drawing with depth charges and everything. Like, I knew what I wanted. He looked at that chart and he said, I don't think I'm the man for the job for you. So he thought I was one of those analytics. like no matter what he does, he's not going to make me happy. That's what he thought. And he told me, he says, I don't think I'm the man for the job, honestly. I'm not sure you're going to be happy with the service I give. And I liked him and he had a good price. And so, I convinced him that I would be happy and he would be happy. And we both are happy and talking now on a weekly basis. So he and I are both I'm very happy with what he did. And so, but he wasn't so sure about it. So he just went ahead and said, hey, I'm not sure. I don't think I'm the man. And so what that did is it sent a subconscious, don't be too picky, which is fair, right? Like, you're paying for this. If you want more, you can have more, but you're going to pay for more. Does that make sense?
I think so.
All right. So be humble. Make sure you're humble at a heart level and make sure you communicate that humility. Big time. Merle, what would you like to accomplish in today's podcast for young men? Merle, are you sleeping? It's okay. You're good. And so, one of the things that I thought about accomplishing today is family conflict.
What about it?
Okay.
Like, how do you handle it?
Just ignore it.
Right? Like, and this is kind of, same strategy that works really effectively in a house too. Like, you have a leak in the pipe and man, does that work out great for, the construction people. Yeah, just ignore it.
So, I mean, you can put a bucket underneath it to catch it.
right? You can do that.
That'll help.
That'll
How
help.
do you do that with a family conflict?
What's that?
How do you do that with family conflict? Just put a bucket underneath to catch it.
Oh, that'd be kind of
Just
hilarious.
talk
You bring a
about,
bucket in and you just set it down. What's that for? For the conflict that's here. The elephant that's in the room. It's not a big enough bucket.
It'll go in
So,
the bucket, and then it won't go in the other rooms.
right. So, we had I put together a model actually. I know that's shocking to all of you. So we had a project called the Jerusalem Project. It's bringing peace to the Middle East. Um, and we had seven, like I think it was seven Palestinians come over to teenagers stay over at our house, and seven Israeli students or teenagers, and they didn't know each other, they weren't friends, and seven from the Lakota Indian Reservation. Um, so you think you got conflict in your family? Let me tell you, you think about the Middle East. Like my great 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 grandfather, your dad tried to kill my dad. Like my great 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 grandfather sent him and my mom, our mom, into the desert to die. Like that's got some. There was I'm not going to share who, obviously, but there was a gentleman I know some really interesting people. I really do. And his 12-year-old grandson came to him or came to his dad, this individual's son, and said, Dad, did Grandpa so and so brother commit suicide? And the dad says, I think it's best if you talk to Grandpa about that. So he goes to the grandfather and says, Grandpa so and so, did your brother commit suicide? And the grandpa looks at him and he's again 12-year-old grandson, and he says, he did. He did. And the 12-year-old grandson said, why? And he starts laughing, kind of. He chuckles. He says, well, I think you're old enough now to have this, to understand the story. And so my brother killed our father. Now, why is that funny? I don't know. It just is. It's like, what? And he said he had so much guilt. He had so much guilt that he committed suicide. And what's the 12-year-old son say? Grandson say? The grandson says, Grandpa so and so, we so and so are really messed up, aren't we? And so when you look at family conflict, I think some of it's good to have perspective, but we developed the 4 steps to conflict resolution. We developed the 4 steps to conflict resolution model. And so the first thing is you go ahead and acknowledge the hurt. Now, do any of you just go ahead and decide to suck it up, Buttercup, and just not even share the hurt?
Sometimes, yes.
Um, Mary, I'm curious, why are you smiling?
you're on mute. We can't hear you.
And again, you don't have to participate. You can just kind of sit and listen if you want. Sometimes we have way too much fun on this call.
Sometimes I do, then the next I speak out and then it kind of bites me in the butt.
Right? That's what I'm saying. So here's the psychology behind it. There's actually a science behind this. So what we do, I've written a white paper is you're teaching me well. I won't tell you which family members I said this to, but I said this to 2 of my family members. And I said, you're both teaching me well. And they knew that wasn't a compliment. That knew that I was not a happy camper with some of the choices and these are adults. These are not children. These are growing like men. And the one said to me, so do you think you're teaching us? And I said, obviously not as good as you're teaching me. Like, obviously I'm not. So I wrote this white paper, and it's kind of a private one. It's got some sass in it. It's got some spice in it. Like, this is one thing that, some of my family members have not learned the lesson, or maybe extended family members. And that is, don't mess with an author. Just don't mess, because I'm telling you, he can write about you. He can put you in a book. He can name you, not name you. He can give enough details where he's not naming you, but everybody knows who you are. Like, don't mess with it. And especially if the guy does 15 to 25 podcasts like a week. Like, why would you don't irritate that person, because they can irritate you back, and it can get out to everybody. And that's what I find is people. So what happens is, Mary's experienced this, so have I. So what people do is, you say something, you've been hurt, and they flip it. They're martial artists and not taking personal ownership. And you're just like, what? Like, how did that become my issue? Like, you hurt me and I'm the bad guy. So what they do is they're training us not to say anything. Well, that doesn't work so well either. And so first thing is to acknowledge the hurt. So you have see, feel, heal, and do. Like, this is see, feel, heal, and do. So most people, I'm telling you, again, this is like, what's the difference between stupid and ignorant? Ignorant is not knowing what to do. Stupid is not doing what we know. It took me 61 years of my life to figure that out, to come up with something so tight. Like, that's not complicated. But what we do is we go ahead and we want to think people around us are ignorant. We do. We don't want to think they're stupid. Like, this person knows that you're not supposed. There's another person in my life, won't be naming names, but this person knows that I'm not real fond of a lot of long explanations. Like, it doesn't help me, but it took me 38 years for me to understand, when this person's explaining things to me, they feel that they're closer to me. Me, I feel like I'm just getting further from them. So now what I do is I just say, wow, honey, that makes me feel a lot closer to you. Then she hits me, but I get some physical attention, which, is not so bad at 61 years old. Like, you gotta have a sense of humor, I think. I mean, I think that's helpful. So the first thing is to see and acknowledge it, and don't get defensive. Don't do the 90s. Just don't do them. Don't do them. Just save the drama. Just save the drama, because you know what? The person that you're messing with may know me. And not only can I write about or do podcasts about, my family members, but I can do it about other people's family members, and you might become the topic. So it's almost like they're emotional terrorists. I'm serious. Like, once I said something about my kids being terrorists, and another family member, won't name names, another family member went ahead and said, Mark shouldn't be, he shouldn't be saying that his kids are terrorists. Why not? They are. They're little monsters. They're just little monsters. It's like, it's like you try to be nice, and, like with a terrorist, like bullies, it's like, the Bible says a soft answer turneth away wrath. And I believe that. But a bully's not wrath. A bully's just a bully. What do you do with a bully? You just smack him in the mouth. You just punch him in the nose. Now, as a parent, you really can't do that to your kids, although you feel like, get your kids on a podcast and have them work with me. I'll go ahead and whip them into shape. Like, so the first thing is, you got to see, you got to acknowledge the hurt. So Ginger Ann, my oldest daughter, crazy story. My oldest daughter, and they call her the golden child, or at least they used to. I don't know if they still call her that. She does not like that term, but like she's 16 years old, and I don't know, she had talked to me in the day and she said, "Hey Dad, I got something I want to talk to you about." I said, "Okay, I'm a little busy, but can we do it later?" And she's like, "Oh, absolutely, Dad." She's 16 years old. Like she's a teenage girl. And I was going to bed, walking to bed that night, and she was on the couch, and I was walking and going upstairs to our bedroom, and she says, "Hey Dad, can we talk about that thing?" And me being a goofball, like what was I thinking? I wasn't thinking. I said, "Honey, can we, do it tomorrow?" And she's like, "Sure, Dad." And the next morning I woke up and I said, "You are just an idiot, Mark. You're just an idiot. What are you thinking?" Like, I didn't need her to tell me that. I didn't need my wife to tell me that. I didn't need anybody. I just knew. Like, she doesn't ask for a lot. And so she's just one of those kids. She just doesn't ask for a lot. And so I apologized to her the next day and I said, "Hey, honey, I'm sorry, sweetheart. That just totally messed up." And we had a conversation. And I don't even remember what the conversation was about. I doubt that she does. And I don't know, a week or so later, I realized she had this like sassy attitude. I mean, she's 16, right? So that kind of goes with the territory of a 16-year-old girl. But I could tell, like I had a connection with her. It wasn't now something happened. So I went into her bedroom. I said, "Hey, sweetheart, I've noticed there's some difference there, like between us, and I just want to see." And she got really mad. She's like, "Dad, when I needed you to talk to you, like you weren't there." Well, it's my response. I have a rule. Like I can be stupid as a dad once, but I better not do it two times in a row. There's not the room. So what did I do? I said, "Honey, I'm sorry. I really am sorry." I said, and then tears start running down my face. I said, "I know I messed up as a dad." I didn't say, "I apologize once. You should forgive me." Like, what do you expect from me? Like, I didn't get all dramatic and defensive. I just broke down in tears because I hurt her at a heart level. And tears are running out. And I'm like, "I'm so sorry, honey. I know I apologized once. I am so sorry. I'll apologize again. And you know what, sweetheart? If I need to do it 100 times, I'll do it 100 times. That is how much I'm sorry." And immediately everything's good. Everything's fixed. It's like boom. And I was serious. Now I've shared that story a lot. So the more you hurt somebody, the more somebody is hurt by what you do, the more willing, if you're not willing to apologize again, you go ahead and get defensive. You flip it on them. You're not really sorry. You're just not. I'm just telling you, you're just not. Oh, the protocol for an apology. Like Patrick Ryan, he did that white paper. I'm telling you, that's a winner. We ought to include that in the podcast somewhere around here. Hopefully, Luke's going to put that in the podcast. And so next, then you go ahead and ask them how that felt. Like you want to feel the pain of what you caused them. The sons, they have no idea. No, zero. I'm talking zero understanding of how they hurt their moms. They just don't. Now, a lot of moms don't hurt their sons and don't understand that too. And the dads aren't often very helpful because the dads just say, don't share your feelings. Don't tell them you were hurt. Don't be hurt. Just man up. Just do this. Just don't deal with it. So you got to feel, if they don't feel that you feel they're hurt, it's probably not going to work. And then you go in and then you heal. How can I not do it again? Like the key is not doing it again. Like don't say you're sorry and do it again. Like this is just stupid. It's just stupid. Like you're not sorry if you do something again. Oh, we're out of time almost. And so in Malcolm Gladwell's book, I think it's talking with no, it's what the dog saw. And he talks about, this dog whisperer and and he goes in and the dog whisperer helps dogs that are, not doing well. And the dog bit the owner. And and then the dog licked the owner's face, bit the owner's face, and the dog licked the and the owner says the dog is saying sorry for biting you, and then the dog whisperer said that's not what's happening. If the dog was sorry, it wouldn't have bit you in the first place. The dog has a natural reflex to lick something to heal it. They're not saying they're sorry; they bit you on purpose. And so I think a lot of times people are stupid. They're saying they're sorry, but they're not really sorry. Sorry, but sorry this. There's a reason. There's an excuse for it, and then say, I will work not to do that again and really work at it. Like if you're doing the same thing more than once, there's a hard issue. So Bonhoeffer's, that would be another one, Luke, to put on this one, the theory of stupidity. Like all of these things, Luke, would be good to connect in and around this and get this to every family member and let every family member, watch this. You might say, is it working with your family, Mark? I'd have to say, it doesn't seem to be. Like it doesn't seem to be. So we've gone over a lot. Always come early, always stay late. If you have any questions, share this. Like who can't benefit from something like this, right? Oh, and the next one, you guys come next week and we do a take 2 on this. I got so many stories. I got 3 stories right now I'm working on this very thing, on this very topic. At least 3. It's like, how am I going to handle this situation with these people? So there's so much more that we have to cover. If you have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300, outside the U.S. 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.